I think that girl is pregnant. Morenike's eyes widened. Pregnant? With whose child? Chief Adekunle Shobanjo was the kind of man people whispered about whenever his convoy passed. Not because he was arrogant. Not because he was feared. But because his wealth was so vast, so unreachable, that even his rivals wondered if he made a secret covenant with the gods. Oil blocks across Rivers State. Hotels in Abuja. Shipping lines in Ghana. 3 private jets. A vault of gold in Dubai. And enough political connections to make any normal man untouchable. But Chief Shobanjo lacked one thing. An heir who would continue the dynasty he had built for 42 years. He had no children. Not even one. And now, at 68 years old, life had finally decided to mock his power. The illness struck quietly at first. A persistent cough. Trouble breathing. Chest pains he blamed on stress. But soon, he couldn't walk up the stairs without clutching the rail. His voice weakened. His energy disappeared. Then came the diagnosis that crushed his spirit completely. Pulmonary fibrosis, irreversible. The doctors said he had a few months to live. He felt like a king whose empire was about to vanish in the blink of an eye. His wife, Lady Morenike Shobanjo, was a woman carved from pure ambition. Beautiful, graceful, soft-spoken in public, but anyone who knew her long enough could tell. Her heart beat for power, not people. For years she played the role of the loyal wife. Hosting charity events, appearing on magazine covers, sweet-talking politicians, pretending she loved her husband. But deep inside, she had one dream. To control his entire empire when he finally died. And now the clock was ticking in her favor. She only needed one thing. Someone to care for him at home. Someone easy to manipulate. Someone innocent enough not to interfere with her plans. Someone she could blame when the old man took his last breath. That was how Zainab Ojukwu entered their world. Zainab was 21 years old, from Okodo in Ogun State, a place where the roofs leaked and the gutters overflowed whenever it rained. Her father had died 2 years earlier, leaving her mother to raise 4 children alone by selling firewood. Zainab had dreams once, to study microbiology, to become a lab scientist, to change her family's story. But life had other plans. When she heard there was a job as a live-in domestic worker in Ikoyi, she didn't think twice. She lied about her experience. Lied about her training. Lied about everything. Because the salary could feed her entire household for months. Lady Morenike saw through the lies instantly. That was exactly what she wanted. Your job, Morenike said with a smile too sweet to be true, is simple. Take care of my husband. Attend to him. Watch him. And if anything goes wrong, anything at all, you will be held responsible. Do you understand? Zainab nodded, fear climbing her throat. She didn't know she had just walked into a war. The Shobanjo mansion was the size of a hotel. Marble hallways. Imported sculptures. A chandelier worth more than Zainab's entire neighborhood. And people. So many people. But none with kind eyes. There were 5 stepchildren. 1. Adedayo, age 30. A lawyer with a sharp tongue and a sharper greed. Already fighting to control his father's companies. 2. Bisola, age 27. A travel influencer who lived for luxury. Her biggest dream was to inherit and relocate. 3. Demeji, age 25. Always drunk. Always broke. Always begging for money his father refused to give him. 4. Lola, age 23. A fashion designer who saw every woman as competition. Especially Zainab. 5. Fiend, age 20. A boy who lived online. Addicted to crypto, betting, and fast money schemes. None of them loved their father. None of them cared that he was dying. They only cared about his will. Zainab quickly became their common enemy. The first week was hell. Zainab spilled hot tea on herself. Mixed up his medication. Almost dropped him while helping him stand. She cried every night, praying not to lose the job. But Chief Shobanjo never raised his voice. Instead, he watched her with quiet curiosity. One evening he said, "People think wealth is the greatest blessing. But sometimes, it is the greatest curse. Everyone wants something from you." He stared at her for a long moment. "But you only want to survive." For the first time in years, someone in that house saw Zainab as human. For the first time in years, someone in that house made him feel human too. And that was where everything began to change. Soon, the children began to show their true colors. Bisola, Zainab, bring my bag, even when the bag was beside her. Adedayo, do you understand English at all? Or should I speak slowly? Dimeji, massage my leg is paining me. Now, Lola, you're too comfortable in this house. I don't like it. Fyin. You're pretending to be humble, but I see your type. Every insult cut deep, but she endured it silently. Only Chief Shobanjo defended her. But the more he defended her, the more they hated her. And Lady Morenike, she watched everything like a queen watching her pawns move. She was waiting, calculating, planning. One night, after giving him his medication, Zainab sat on the edge of the bed. Why are you kind to me, sir? She finally asked. Chief Shobanjo breathed slowly, painfully. Because you are kind to me, he whispered. And no one else in this house remembers how to be human. Then he said the words she didn't expect. I am going to die soon, Zainab. Her heart clenched. I have spent my whole life building an empire. But no one here deserves to inherit it. His eyes glistened. I need an heir. Her throat tightened. I need a child of my blood. Someone who will carry my name. Zainab froze. Her entire world tilted. Sir, please, I can't. I will protect you, he whispered. With money, with lawyers, with everything I have left. But protection was exactly what he no longer had. Zainab tried to avoid him for days. But poverty has a cruel way of cornering you. Her mother needed medicine. Her younger brothers needed school fees. Their rent was overdue. And for the first time in her life, someone was offering her not just money, but a future. 3 days later, she gave him her answer. Yes, that night sealed both of their fates. A few weeks later, Zainab began throwing up every morning. She hid it well, or so she thought. But secrets never survive in a house filled with vultures. Lola heard her. Bisola followed her. Adedayo noticed her sudden tiredness. And Dimeji, the drunk, connected the dots first. Mummy, he whispered to Lady Morenike. I think that girl is pregnant. Morenike's eyes widened. Pregnant? With whose child? Then the realization hit her like fire. No, he wouldn't dare. But he did. And she was about to explode. The next morning, Morenike forced Zainab into the living room. All the children gathered. Take the test, she ordered. Zainab's hands shook as she entered the bathroom. 2 lines appeared instantly. Positive. She stepped out slowly. And hell broke loose. You witch. You seduced our father. You came here to steal. You think you can take our inheritance. They attacked her with words. Accusations. Threats. Until suddenly, a wheelchair rolled into the room. Chief Adekunle Shobanjo appeared at the doorway. What is happening here? Morenike held up the test. She is pregnant. She slept with you behind my back. Everyone waited for him to deny it. But he didn't. He looked at Zainab, then at all of them, and said, yes, the child is mine. The room fell silent, dead silent. I asked her for this, he continued. She did not seduce me. She did not trick me. I chose her because she is the only person in this entire house with a good heart. Morenike gasped. You are not serious. Tell me you are not serious. Chief Shobanjo cut her off. If any of you harm her, if any of you touch that pregnancy, you will get nothing from my will. Not a kobo. I will cancel everything today. His children's faces twisted with frozen rage. Zainab realized something terrifying. She wasn't just pregnant. She was now the most hated person in a billionaire's house. And every one of them was planning their revenge. The days that followed were the quietest Zainab had ever experienced in that mansion. But it was the kind of silence that comes before a storm tears a city apart. Not one of Chief Shobanjo's children spoke to her. Not one greeted her. Not one looked at her without their eyes burning with hatred. Even the staff, the maids, the cooks, the drivers, began avoiding her, whispering behind her back. They all knew the truth. A powerless girl now carried the most powerful baby in the house. And that made her dangerous. But danger cuts both ways. Chief Shobanjo called an emergency family meeting. His voice was weak, his breathing shallow, but his authority remained untouched. From today, he declared, Zainab is under my protection. They glared. All security doors will remain locked. No one enters her room without my permission. Adedayo scoffed loudly. Bisola rolled her eyes. Lola folded her arms like a queen denied her throne. Dimeji opened his mouth to protest, but one look from the chief shut him up. Do not test me, the old man warned. I may be dying, but I am not dead yet. Those words echoed through the mansion like a final warning shot. But warnings could not stop hunger. And now, everyone in that house was hungry for something. Revenge, control, power. Or the child growing inside Zainab. Zainab's nausea worsened. Some days she couldn't even stand without feeling faint. Her hands trembled while washing dishes. Her vision blurred when walking up the stairs. She told no one, not even the chief. Because she knew the truth. If they sensed even a little weakness, they would destroy her. So she pretended to be fine. She smiled. She worked. She cleaned. She carried her fear like an invisible bucket on her head. But one person noticed anyway. Fiend, the youngest, the quietest, the observer. One night, he found her sitting on the kitchen floor, hugging her knees, trying not to cry. He hesitated, then whispered. They won't stop. Be careful. She looked up, startled. Fiend sighed. I don't like you, he admitted. But they hate you too much. Even for this house. Then he walked away. Zainab didn't sleep that night. Something in his voice felt like a prophecy. Lady Morenike locked herself in her private suite for days. She didn't eat with the family. She didn't speak to her husband. She didn't even pray. She strategized. Every hour, she replayed the humiliation in her mind. Her dying husband choosing a housemaid over her. No woman of her status could swallow that insult. No, she hissed at her reflection in the mirror. She cannot have that child. She will not. Her plan was not to kill Zainab. No, that would be too easy, too suspicious. Her plan was far more elegant. Far more wicked. Far more permanent. It happened on a Sunday afternoon. The chef served lunch, fresh rice, grilled chicken, and spicy vegetable sauce. Everyone sat at the long dining table, pretending to be civil. Zainab took one bite, and her heart began to race. Her palms turned cold, her tongue numbed, her legs shook violently. She tried to stand, but her body refused. Her vision dimmed, the room spun, a whisper escaped her lips. Help! Demeji smirked. Bisola sipped wine. Lola watched her like a movie. Only the chief reacted. Zainab, someone help her. But no one moved. His hands trembled helplessly. He tried to rise from his wheelchair, and collapsed. Zainab clutched the table, gasping for air, sweat pouring down her face. Then, Fiend rushed forward, grabbed the plate, sniffed it. And his eyes widened. This food is spoiled, no, it was tampered with. Chaos erupted. Who prepared this? The chief roared. The chef trembled. I cooked everything myself. Then who took it to the dining room? A maid stepped forward slowly. I did, ma'am asked me to. Which ma'am? The chief demanded. The maid swallowed. Madame Morenike. The room froze. A chill swept through the mansion. Zainab's knees buckled. Her vision collapsed into darkness. She fainted. When she awoke, Zainab opened her eyes in the chief's private bedroom, not her tiny servant's room. He sat beside her, oxygen tubes in his nose, eyes red with worry. You nearly died, he whispered. Her throat tightened. Was it her? The chief didn't answer. He didn't need to. His silence was enough. He looked at her stomach, then at her trembling hands. You must leave this house, he said softly. Her breath caught. But sir, I cannot protect you anymore. Those words shattered her. No, they will kill you too, she whispered. They are already trying. A tear slipped from the old man's eye. You carry the last piece of my blood. If anything happens to you, my entire existence ends. He reached for her hand, weakly. You must leave. Tonight. But it was too late. Because while they spoke, in the corridor, pressed against the wall, listening through the slightly open door, was Morenike. Her eyes narrowed, her plan sharpened, and she whispered to herself. She thinks she can run. A cold smile stretched across her face. Let her try. The war had officially begun. And Zainab, poor, unprepared, terrified Zainab, was about to learn that. In a billionaire's house, pregnancy is not a blessing. It is a death sentence. That night, the mansion didn't sleep. The walls listened, the shadows breathed, and every step echoed with danger. Zainab sat on the edge of the chief's bed, her hands shaking as she tried to absorb the truth. She was no longer a housemaid. No longer invisible. No longer harmless. She was a target, and the people hunting her had unlimited money, unlimited influence, and no conscience. Chief Shobanjo leaned closer, his voice barely a whisper. There is a trusted driver, one of my oldest men. His name is Solomon. He will take you to a safe house on Lagos mainland. Stay there until I can change the will. Zainab nodded, even though fear choked her. Pack only one bag, he added. Do not speak to anyone. His hand trembled as he touched her stomach. I may not live long enough to meet this child, but I will secure its future. For the first time, Zainab saw real fear in his eyes, not for himself, but for her. She stood. She opened the door. She took one step into the hallway. And froze. Morenike stood at the far end, watching her. Smiling. But it wasn't the smile of a wife. It was the smile of a woman who had already chosen violence. Zainab forced herself to walk past her. Her heart pounded so loudly she feared it would betray her. Just as she crossed, Morenike whispered, "Run if you want. I will still find you." Zainab didn't turn. She couldn't. If she looked back, she would collapse. She reached her servant's room and locked the door. Her hands shook as she stuffed a few clothes into a nylon bag. Her breathing grew uneven. What if I don't make it out? What if they catch me? What if they take the child? Every fear in the world crawled up her spine. Then she remembered her mother's voice. Zainab, life will test you, but you must never surrender. She straightened her back. She tied the bag. She whispered a prayer. And then, a soft knock on the door. She froze. Who is it? She whispered. No answer. Another knock, louder this time. Fear surged through her. She stepped back. It's me, a voice whispered. Fiend. She opened the door a crack. He slipped inside quickly. His face was pale. They know, he said breathlessly. Everyone knows you're leaving. Her heart dropped. How? Cameras, he said. Mother checked the hallway feed. She saw you speaking with father. She knows he's trying to move you. Zainab felt her knees weaken. Fiend grabbed her shoulders. Listen to me. You must leave right now. Don't wait till midnight. Don't wait for Solomon. Why? She whispered. Fiend swallowed hard. Because they already paid someone else to take you out before dawn. Her breath caught. Take me out. Like, yes. The word hit her like a hammer. Fiend's voice trembled. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this because I don't want blood on my hands. And I don't want to watch my family burn. Zainab stared at him. For the first time, she saw genuine fear in his eyes. They moved fast. Fiend led her through the back hallway, avoiding cameras, avoiding the guards who normally slept in their posts. Tonight, none of them slept. Tonight, everyone was alert. Because tonight, the house had a mission. Take only your bag, Fiend whispered. Walk beside me. Look normal. They walked past the poolside. Past the garden. Past the fountain where the mansion's lights shimmered. The main gate was ahead. Almost there. But then, a phone rang. Fiend flinched. It was his mother. Don't answer, Zainab whispered urgently. He swallowed. His hands trembled. His breath shook. I have to, he said. If I ignore her, she'll know. He answered the call with shaking fingers. Hello, Mummy. Her voice sliced through the night like a razor. Where are you? At the pool, he stammered. Just getting fresh air. Is she with you? He froze. Zainab froze beside him. No, he lied. A long silence. Then Morenike said something that made his blood run cold. Turn around. Fiend hesitated. Now. He turned. At the balcony above, Morenike stood watching them. Zainab's heart stopped. She had been watching the entire time. Morenike's voice echoed. Security. Stop them. Like ants spilling from a broken nest, the guards rushed from every direction. Run. Fiend shouted. Zainab sprinted. Her slippers slapped against the tiles. Her breath felt like fire. Her legs burned with terror. Fiend pushed her ahead. The guards chased fast, too fast. They were gaining. Zainab stumbled. Fiend grabbed her arm and pulled her forward. They reached the back fence, 10 feet tall, barbed at the top. You have to climb, he said. I can't, I'm pregnant. You have to. He cupped his hands. Zainab stepped into them. She climbed. She reached the middle. And then a voice boomed behind them. Stop right there. Adadayo. Holding a gun. Zainab gasped. She couldn't breathe. Fiend stepped between them. Deo, don't do this. Move from the way. Adadayo barked. She's carrying father's heir, Fiend pleaded. Adadayo sneered. Exactly. He aimed. Zainab froze halfway up the fence. Her blood ran cold. The baby kicked inside her. Her heart pounded like it would burst. Adedayo's finger tightened on the trigger. Smiling, ready, willing, waiting, to erase her from existence. A single gunshot shattered the night. Zainab screamed. Her hands slipped. She fell, but not to the ground. Fiend caught her. Her vision spun. Her ears rang. Someone was on the floor. Someone was groaning. Someone had been shot. Slowly, painfully, Zainab turned her head. And what she saw made her blood freeze. Because the person lying on the ground, the person holding his shoulder, the person bleeding, was not her. It was Adedayo. Shot by someone hiding in the shadows. Shot by someone they never expected. Shot by someone who stepped forward slowly, revealing himself under the security lights. Solomon, the chief's trusted driver. He held a smoking gun, and his voice trembled with rage. Madam said no bloodshed, he growled. But this was never part of the agreement. The gun's echo faded into the night, but the fear it left behind clung to the air like smoke. Zainab's breath came in short, sharp bursts. Fiend held her upright, his arms trembling under her weight. Solomon stepped fully into the light, gun still pointed downward, eyes blazing with a fury none of them had ever seen in him. He had always been quiet, a shadow in the background, loyal, steady, invisible. But tonight, the shadow had teeth. Adedayo writhed on the ground, clutching his bleeding shoulder, screaming curses that dissolved into pain. You shot me, Solomon. Are you mad? He howled. Solomon didn't flinch. You pointed a gun at your father's heir, he said coldly. I am mad, but not as mad as all of you. The guards hesitated, unsure who to obey. Morenike watched from the balcony, her expression unreadable, a queen whose game had shifted in ways she hadn't prepared for. Leave her, Solomon barked at the guards. Any man who touches her will answer to the chief himself. The guards stepped back slowly. Not out of respect for him, but out of fear for the dying lion who still ruled the mansion. Fiend, Solomon said, eyes sharp, help her. We're leaving, now. Fiend nodded and pulled Zainab up. Her legs were shaking so violently he practically carried her. Behind them, Adedayo groaned louder. She's not leaving this house. He spat. Over my dead. Solomon pointed the gun at him again. Adedayo went silent. They moved fast. Down the back path, through the narrow gate beside the generator house. Past the guard post where two men looked the other way, pretending not to see. The black SUV was already running. Solomon opened the back door. Get in. Zainab slid inside, gripping her stomach. Fiend turned to Solomon. I'm coming with. No, Solomon cut him off. You go back. If your mother suspects you helped, she'll destroy you too. Fiend hesitated, torn between fear and conscience. Tell father I tried, he whispered. Solomon placed a firm hand on his shoulder. He knows. Fiend stepped back, eyes shining. The SUV peeled out of the compound. For the first time that night, Zainab exhaled. Her heart still pounded, but the danger behind them began to shrink with each passing second. The city lights blurred outside the window, Ikoyi's mansions melting into the quiet roads that led toward the mainland. Solomon drove like a man who had been preparing for this night for years. Why did you save me? Zainab finally whispered. He kept his eyes on the road. The chief saved my life when I was younger, he said quietly. I swore to protect him, and everything he loves. He paused. You are the only thing he loves. Tears filled her eyes. But the moment was short-lived. Because suddenly, without warning, a black Prado Jeep swung out of a side street and blocked the entire road. Solomon hit the brakes hard. The SUV skidded. Zainab screamed as her head slammed into the seat. Three men jumped out of the Prado. Not regular thugs. Not petty criminals. These were professionals, dressed in black, armed with rifles, moving with precision. Solomon's face hardened. Morenike's men, he whispered. The men approached slowly. One aimed directly at the driver's side window. Solomon gripped the steering wheel. Zainab, he said quietly, when I count to 3, get down on the floor. Her heart thundered. Solomon, do exactly as I say. The men were now only a few steps away. Don't run, one of them shouted. Madam wants the girl alive. Zainab's blood turned to ice. Alive, not safe, not unharmed, just alive. Solomon inhaled deeply. 1. He unbuckled his seatbelt. 2. He shifted the car into reverse. 3. He slammed the accelerator. The SUV shot backward, straight into a parked Kiki by the roadside. The crash shook the entire vehicle. The gunman opened fire. Bullets shattered the rear windshield. Glass flew everywhere. Zainab screamed and dropped to the floor as instructed. Solomon yanked open his door, ducked, rolled onto the asphalt, and fired back. The night exploded. Gunshots, sparks, screams, tires skidding. A bullet tore through the dashboard. Another hit the side mirror. Solomon took cover behind the door and fired again. He dropped one attacker. The others scattered behind the Prado. Zainab crawled onto the back seat, shaking uncontrollably. Solomon, she cried. Stay down, he shouted. The gunfire slowed, then stopped. Then, a soft click, followed by a familiar voice. Enough. Zainab froze. Morenike stepped out of the Prado. Dressed in white, calm, radiant, like a woman attending a wedding, not a hunt. Her heels clicked softly as she approached. Solomon aimed at her. Don't come closer. She smiled. You won't shoot me. I will, he growled. No, she said gently. Because you know the chief will die the moment you do. Solomon hesitated. Just for a second. But a second was enough. Two gunmen rushed him from the side. They grabbed him, disarmed him, pinned him to the ground. Morenike stepped closer to Zainab's shattered window. She leaned down. Her smile was soft, motherly, cruel. Come out, my dear. Zainab shook her head violently, tears streaming. Please, I'm pregnant, I'm carrying his child. Yes, Morenike whispered. That is exactly why I need you. She signaled to the men. Bring her. Zainab screamed as two strong hands pulled her from the SUV. She fought. She kicked. She begged. But they dragged her like a rag doll. Morenike leaned forward and whispered into her ear. You think this is about your baby? She smiled coldly. No, Zainab. This is about power. She straightened. Take her. The gunman pushed Zainab into the back of the Prado. Solomon shouted in fury, struggling against the men holding him. Don't touch her. Don't you dare. But he was helpless. Morenike looked at him and said calmly. The next time you see her, she will no longer be pregnant. Zainab gasped in horror. No, please, please. The door slammed shut. The Prado started. The tires screeched. And Zainab's world dissolved into darkness. Because she finally understood the full truth. This was no longer a family conflict. No longer inheritance drama. No longer a fight for survival. This was war. And Morenike Shobanjo had no intention of losing. What happened next will shock you. And if you are curious to know what happens next, just comment part 2, and if the video reached 1,000 comments I will drop part 2.